Ready. I just want to welcome everyone to the celebration of music by Raine Eastman for Sam Saunders. We're very excited to hear Sam's music. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Seeing as some people still might be coming in, we'll start with the very, before I do a biography on Sam, I'll just start with a song, so it's like welcoming music. Thank you, Mayhair, for meeting us here. Thank you, Mayhair. Now's the time in your infinite song when we must sing. You are the one whom we have been constantly seeking. Now we are here with you, Mayhair. We who cherish your smile in our hearts praise you, Mayhair. Praise your lovely name until the day we can serve you and lay our minds and hearts in the dust that you walk through. Victory to you, Mayhair Baba. As the morning is born from the night, so it will be. In the dawn of your morning we'll wake and behold you. In lovely form your day will arise and make all new. Victory to you, Mayhair Baba. Pretty good beginning, Sam. So, Stephen and I had arrived at Avatar's Abode in 1969, around November, and we found out that there was really just a few prayers at the Amartithi, readings, and very quickly in the June of 1970 came the anniversary, which we call a Sahavas here. There it's called the anniversary of Mayhair Barber's visit to Avatar's Abode in June 1958. It's celebrated every year. And so people came from Sydney and Melbourne, and they had music ready. Some had tuned the Quest, even with the jazzy chords and pianos and all sorts of things. Young girls came from Sydney with guitars they could play and sang Francis's songs. Francis's songs. Well, up until that 6 months, I'd only ever heard of one song, which he'd asked me to learn, Eileen, and Chris Gray was my accompanist. So I knew Chris he was in Sydney too, but he had tuned some of Francis's words. And then from then on, it just seemed to be play practices every weekend. We had moved nearby, and play practices every weekend, more songs, more readings, and this is how it went on for another anniversary in 71, more practices and so on. Then in 1972, a young chap came along and he looked a bit familiar to me. His name was Sam Saunders. I didn't work out for a long time where I had seen him before. I had actually seen him before when I was the sort of maitre d' at an enormous discotheque in Melbourne called Victoria and Albert's. And he had been the arranger and done some chords and some songs with a very famous blues group in Melbourne called The Chain. Well, I knew The Chain was from Tasmania. And this young chap, sure enough, was from Tasmania. And he had discovered Barber and he arrived at the anniversary. He didn't do much that anniversary, but on the Sunday night, which was kind of everybody's turn, not the arranged things Francis had set for the Friday and Saturday with a very strict list of who could and couldn't perform. Or sometimes there was a little bit of a talk from Robert Rouse or something, but rarely talks. And he played guitar. We were floored. I mean, he played like he was, Segovia or something. He was playing all this classical guitar, this one song. And Francis's eyes opened wide, Robert Rouse's eyes, Francis Brabazon, the Mandali, he'd living back in Australia by then. And we were just amazed because he was very quiet. And we were opened up through that to the whole world of notation, being able to notate Francis's songs, which he would bring out and I would just put them in a book, the words, you know. Suddenly they could have chords on top of them. And various ones of us went and got guitars. May Lundqvist gave me her guitar. She'd hardly ever played it, who met Barber many times. And so we slowly realized this Sam Saunders was so far ahead of us musically. I mean, it was amazing. And very quickly, Francis always was great with vocation. One's good at this, and she's good at making tea, and he's good at music, and she's good at writing down dates and scribing words and so on. And she's good at acting and blah, blah. So Sam was there and notating, writing things down, learning Francis's notation. Francis had his own form of notation, which he and Mani had developed from the Indian system with numbers. So he quickly learned Francis's notation, like it took me years and took him like minutes, and worked all that out. And there's a beautiful summary of that in the Songs of Francis Brabazon on avatarmayabarber.org. I won't go into that now. So for years we had a conductor, a composer, somebody who would ride in the train in India, and because there were 6 wires, he could write music on the wires between Bombay and Ahmednagar and have a new song when he got there. So I suppose he'd be most annoyed if I was to call him a prodigy, but we don't really have another word. So I would say, certainly as a music major myself, we had a prodigy in our midst. He was quite unaware of that and did never have an attitude of that sort. And good evening, Lorraine. Good morning, Lorraine. Jai Baba. You can unmute Lorraine if you like, and you can undo the camera on the bottom there so we can see you. Jai Baba. How in the months before, just before February, when Sam passed, I had all sorts of things came up. A friend wanted notation of his May Peace and Peace. So I had to communicate with him. No, that wasn't enough. She wanted it recorded. So he recorded it live, a beautiful, probably the best recording we have of May Peace and Peace by him. Then I had said, you haven't sent me this. I asked for Guzzle 15 and I asked for this to music. And he suddenly sent those over and the notation. And then he sent a songbook, which I didn't have. And he notated and did all these glorious songbooks. And so then I said, oh, this person put the Roses Thorns to music and it's really good. I'm going to learn it. No, here's my version of the Roses Thorns. And I got that. So all this stuff was sort of pouring in and I'm feeling very connected to do all this again. And then I get this call that Sam had passed away of a heart attack, completely unexpectedly in his sleep. So I thought it'd be nice to read to you what the local Nambour, Queensland paper had to say about Sam's death. Vale, goodbye. Vale Sam Saunders, composer and teacher. He was a friend, a mentor to countless musicians and students here on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland, a guitarist, a composer of immense talent. Sam Saunders, 65, died peacefully this week, leaving behind a musical legacy and a massive body of work. His friend Jeanette Young said Sam's musical legacy was enormous, as was the impact he had on young musicians at many, many schools in the area. Married with 2 children and 2 stepchildren, the former Woodford Folk Festival director moved to the Sunshine Coast from Launceston, Tasmania, in the early 1970s. drawn to the late poet Francis Brabazon, who had established the Raine Barber Centre, Avatar's abode on Kills Mountain. A naturally gifted musician with a fabulous ear for music, Sam dabbled in the rock and roll scene, and it wasn't until he shifted to the Sunshine Coast that he had been studying classical composition and eventually got a degree through the Trinity College of London. And so for us singers who'd been in the Avatar's Abode singers, then in the Wine Shop Singers, and then in the group that the Wine Shop Singers wasn't all that sure about, the Love Street Singers, he had a secret group here in California doing everything that they had done anew with me as director and conductor. The only reason I got into Oakland Interfaith was to learn how to be a conductor for the Love Street Singers. Of course, they ended up in both. And so we learned all the complicated things that they learned in Australia, but we learned them quickly because we had David Mayocky, perfect pitch, sight reader, whatever, Peggy Rock, soprano, sight reader, Alexandra, who'd been in Kitka. We had people who could learn quickly and read. Sue Fowler Jameson, who'd been in the earlier group, was now here. So it was sort of easy to pick up a very good group of singers here, and the Love Street Singers. So we started out with simple songs like Thank You, Mayhair, I Am Truth, I Am Love, Little Bird. And it's a shame that we can't have two people singing at the same time, because Lorraine and I know all these harmonies together and our voices go very well together. We came across the whole idea of using other melodies to the words we had, which of course, as we know, Francis kind of brought us to in the East-West Gathering, that this was not a wrong thing to do. As far as Francis was concerned, and eventually Sam was concerned, this was doing the composer a favor and reorienting their music to the new Avatar. And there were hundreds of songs already, because all the songs in the East-West Gathering to start with, and Francis bringing out songs to be entered in the notebooks each week and so on. So in one, and he would present various phases of music to us, which of course Sam would go into on a massive scale, reading them, getting the music, whatever. And he had by 73, we all went to India and we were presented with much more complicated music, like Thank You, Mayhair, that I just sang, Beethoven's music. And here we were, these young ones, couldn't read at that point, but we were following dots anyway. And Francis would introduce musical nights to follow scores. And so we gradually became much better at what we were doing. It wasn't just all learning by rote week after week, although there were a couple of years of that anyway. And so, and presenting other music to us, Latin music, troubadours music, on it would go. And Sam would study it and we would study it, and Sam would write occasionally too, and Francis would keep presenting. So I thought it would be nice to do from East-West Gathering a very early song we learned from the troubadour tradition, except I have to change guitars. This is from the East-West Gathering where Barber is singing in the first person to us. I am truth, I am love, and to you I say, I will keep your hearts till the break of day. Will you love me true? Will you love always? For I have loved you since the first morning. Will you follow me? I am not repine. Will you drink my cup for old lang syne, be it vinegar or the sweetest wine? For I've cherished you since the first morning. That morning when I woke and started to sing, and I put the universe on my feet, finger as a ring, and I sent you forth as the buds of spring. On that first and most glorious morning. Now the day is here and the dawn has spread across the wide sky, the rose that bled from your hearts, and there's no more trail to tread, just singing in me in this morning. I'm going to shorten some of these songs because we have a big involved program here. But the first song that Sam ever taught me, and it was minor chords, remember, you know, we're used to rock and roll, Beatles, whatever. This guy is introducing really unusual chords under these things for us. Though the heart has grown weary of war and yearns to be still and not wear a sword, soldier, soldier am I, and my thoughts often see you so fair in morning with sun adorning your hair, Mayher, Mayher, my love. And my heart warms with joy at your smile. Your word is the world is the place where a soldier must die. Your song is a calling to arms, is a far battle cry. Though the heart seeks complete emptiness and yearns for freedom from war's weariness, soldier, soldier am I. And I know you are here, beloved. Your word is the world is the place where a soldier must die. Your song is a calling to arms, is a far battle cry. And my death will be your victory. Quite a difficult beginning. And the second one I learned, of course, was Thank You, Mayher. And then very quickly, Sam was a salesman for Mayher Handcrafts. He came back in the van one day and came bursting into the office in Clayfield and said, I've got an idea. Did I do that well, Lorraine? I've really got a good idea. I mean, it's a good idea. It doesn't matter what anyone else was doing, you know. And here's how it goes. This is how it goes. And away he goes. No words in front of him, nothing. People are man and man is people. Their bones are the structure of the universe. Their tongues are the harps of the stars. Their hearts are nets which can capture God. The sun rises each day only to light their work. The sun rises each day only to light their work. And the night comes down to cover their secret wanderings. Only people give the day and the night significance, although it took billions of years for them to appear. People were present in the act of creation. Each one burst out of the word as a blazing sun to burn into a man. And with each one who dies, a whole world dies with him. Each one is born twice from his first kiss, and when he bursts the limitations of the stars which cling to him. People build cities. People build cities and monuments of music and poetry and stone to tame the nomad in them, to celebrate their eternal journeying. People were the reason for the creation. There will be no end ever to people. Wars and earthquakes and tidal waves will wipe out cities and waste the farmlands. The ice will creep down, shearing off civilizations, but people will come up again. The earth will grow cold, but it will be replaced by another, for there must always be a place for people, a place on which to stand and sing.
I could hear Lorraine.
Yes, I could hear Lorraine quite clearly. We could imagine it, Lorraine, your lovely rich voice. Now, in the middle of this, we're sitting in the office with our mouths open. Oh, really? I've never heard anything like it. I think it was to address Yevtushenko's negative poem, People, but we got the best part of the deal here, a very positive poem from Francis on people. In the middle of this, he threw a madrigal to all us beginners. 4 parts, mind you. We mostly only sing 3 these days. I still have the cassette of us struggling away trying to learn people are man and people are man and all going together. So very quickly, we had to grow, we had to learn. And by 1974, out came an amazing book, which we had not heard of until it was put very carefully on the end of the dining table, called In Dust I Sing. At that point, we'd heard songs from The Quest, we'd heard songs from Let Us the People Sing. Richard Lockwood had done most of them. Chris Gray had done many of them. Robert Welsh had done the whole Quest to a jazz score. We'd heard a lot of good music, but we had never heard anything like 7 couplets, no chorus, no hook, no way to know what to do. So Sam decided to do Guzzle 1, changing time, slowing down, speeding up, all sorts of things we had not heard in music much before. And I'm sure you're all aware of the Avatazabode record LP, where it opens with "We have waited all night for you, and now the dawn is come from distant places we came. There can be no returning home. There can be no returning home. We know it is morning because of the dawn's cool fingers upon our hot eyelids, and we can hear her sweet singers. We cannot be sure now whether it was our own yearning that expected you, or you promise it matters not in this burning, neither have we your brightness, nor will we behold the new day. We lost our eyes in the darkness and are adrift on tears waves away. Blind, witless wretches whose song the wind carries with the seagulls cry. Blind, witless wretches, blind, witless wretches, bold fellows, brave enough to leave home, but not daring enough to die, but not daring enough to die. Still, we are wrapped in a glory to all other men denied. We once touched the hem of your dress. This is our spirit's pride. So what is it to us if somewhere the world's sun will presently rise, will presently rise, will presently rise? What is it to us if somewhere the world's sun will presently rise? Sometime this darkness of nowhere will be lit by the light of your eyes. You can see Lorraine laughing there, me doing it as a solo. It's very brave to do it, period. So, and so then from there we went to Mission Impossible, a cappella, as a chorus. Oh, this is going to be easy. We're all singing the same melody at last. Oh, goodness me. As I've said before, there's nothing more difficult than singing in unison and Greek chorus, reciting in unison. And then to try and understand what we were singing. Francis did explain to us at the end of Guzzle 3 that this was unique only to English, because you could have rejected us, protected us, corrected us, deflected us, selected us, rejected us, and respected us. Well, have you called yourself the ocean of mercy? For your shadow, the sea has now rejected us, flinging us upon this inhospitable beach, without even the ragged sail which protected us. We know that 1,000 times we have disobeyed you, and 1,000 times you have lovingly corrected us. But it was not that we willfully turned aside, but a sickle shape promising reaping that deflected us. Our greatest error, beloved, was our presumption that out of this teeming world you had selected us to carry your message and sing your songs in the sun. And our secret desire that men respected us. How faithful to you is your shadow, even this sea. Impartially it has judged and rejected us. Jai Baba. So from there we went to something very tricky, Guzzle 7, but I won't do it right now. We'll see if there's time for it. Would you like to tell a story for us, Lorraine?
Just had to work out how to unmute. Yep.
You've done it, yes.
I'm just trying to do that. Well, you sprung that one a bit, Raine. So one of the things that that Mayra told me, Sam's eldest daughter, after Sam had died, was that he really enjoyed being with singers who weren't trained singers, because he had to know each voice, he had to know each person, and when he wrote, he had to write to suit the group that he was working with. Whereas if he had a whole heap of, perfectly trained or well-trained singers, he would have just presented what he wanted, here it was, and then they would sing it. But this was a challenge, and Mara said he'd told her that it was a challenge he loved, that he would have got very bored with a, with a group of wonderful singers, because he loved that challenge of needing to know and having to learn the voices and learn the weaknesses and learn the strengths and do it that way. So the thing was, of course, Sam used to call the lower part, the women who sang the lower part, the low women. So I spent a goodly amount of time in my early years being a low woman. But and then he didn't like I did have a soprano voice. One time I was singing in India and Alan came out and said, you can sing really high, actually. I said, yes, but Sam never liked my soprano voice. I'm a mezzo soprano. And so I always ended up singing the alto part, which was fine, but I couldn't get down as low as a natural alto can. Anyway, Sam was very good at being Sam. And this is what everyone I've spoken to, all of the people who turned up for his memorial on Avatar's Abode, there were hundreds of people. His students, many of his students and people that he taught guitar, and all different people turned up. And what all of them said, Sam was very, very good at being Sam. He didn't put on anything. What you saw was what you got. And that's what we all very much loved about him. Okay, that's me. Look.
Thank you so much, Lorraine. Yes, he was a crusty character. And he and I were, Ged says, she's his wife, Ged Saunders, a wonderful musician, even though she says she's not, and producer and manager and everything else, and best friend. Perhaps I was his musical partner. And then finally she was telling people, this is my husband's musical partner, and they'd look at me completely confused. But anyway, we would fight, we would have wars, we would have struggles, and but they always led to something good. That was the interesting part. No, I'm not having singers with slideshows behind them. So I would sneak out to Michael and say, just put the slideshow behind him, just don't let him see, and then he'd be furious afterwards, but then he'd see, oh, it turned out all right. He was a very set in his ways, but he liked everything very simple and very natural, very like Francis in a sense. They were very alike in some ways, except Francis was calm and metered, and Sam was, I've got a new song. You have to learn it now. Yeah, go ahead.
That just reminded me that that arguing, because I argued a lot with Sam. It's why he had an idea to do this musical play about Dowlett Singh. And it was going to be an opera at first, but we had a lot of arguments about staging. And so we never got past sort of Act 2.
Well, I was going to do Guzzle 7, but it's long and we've got a lot of other things to present here. So because Lorraine is there with her lovely low women voice, it occurred to me that the only people that he thought that could sing this was the low woman and the high woman. So I'll just do this before we show you an amazing slideshow, possibly the last filming of Sam and his wine shop singers. I don't know that we even have footage of his Love Street singers, but we have a tape along the way. I'll just do one verse of this to show you the type of beauty he could produce for the low woman and the high woman. He did influence us all to Francis to go and learn music. And we studied with Mrs. Frame and Miss Martin in Brisbane, and all of the teachers in Brisbane were thrilled that I had directed Sam towards them, particularly Dr. William Lovelock, who said to me one day, "This was the greatest gift you could have given me. This fellow is amazing." Oh, no, that's the wrong guitar, isn't it, Lorraine? She was about to launch into her part an octave higher. Yeah, I've got one guitar with the capo on fifth for Lorraine, and then the regular one. It works for most of his songs for us. Lorraine does sound low in tonality, but Lorraine and I actually sing very well in unison. It's a low tone, but as she says, she can be a soprano too. When the shadows of the dawn fade before the morning light and are calling to the world to awake and shed the night. When the shadows of the dawn fade before the morning light and are calling to the world to awake and shed the night. You will hear the maiden sing, how can this day bring delight? And the one who is my true love left me at the close of night. Mayhair, 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 Mayhair. His name is the song of all who have surrendered at his feet. His name is the cry of all who only in him are complete. Mayhair. You heard to hear Lorraine singing that bit. So now we'll go to this video that we found of very late in 2014, most likely, of the wine shop singers in Barber's house doing a request for our mighty and wonderful Joanna Bruford. Hymn to God the Man, a small section of it.
How marvelous was your creating, from the thread of nothingness you wove this vast universe. And vast little earth, and man, all because you did not know who you were. All because you did not know who you were, and had the whim to know yourself as whole God, as perfect man, as whole God, as perfect man. Out of absolutely nothing, seeming something contained within your everything. Out of absolutely nothing, this seeming something contained within your everything, your everything, your everything.
Oh, the long way from the stars first singing,
The long pain from the time you stepped out of your imprisonment of stone and crept up age after age to man's state.
yourself, your own image of you, perfectly sculptured, articulated for man's knowing, so
your voice, your eye for sight of you. Thrusting upwards, spreading out gropingly towards your infinity.
How feeble you were as were.
How silently you glided through the swamps, through the glass as serpent, singing yourself.
And his visit scurried and stretched yourself in the sun.
How you fished, swam in the shallow waters, seeking yourself.
Dive down deep in your ocean,
Scaled waterfalls, seeking yourself in the highest waters.
how as animals you longed, an animal longing for yourself.
Crashing out of the jungle, trumpeting like the rising sun.
Howling across frozen steppes,
Crying with fox cry like a child in distress in the night. Full arrow, full staring
into the sunset. For the earth, longing intensely for yourself.
proudly over plains, Lord of the world.
Stealthily at night through the silent forest, suddenly alive.
Then stood up, beating your breast, unable to endure not being mad, not being mad. Then you became man. And how great was your fall? You had hammered out on the anvil of time your true shape, by means of which you could know who you were. But you forgot all about the long way and the long pain, and why you had had the fortitude to endure it.
You dithered about, digging in the earth,
Examining what you found,
stared at stars, wondering.
beguiled by what you had already been.
They war instead of war on yourself.
Always conquering, 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 but not your own nature. What a gainsaying of the long way and the long pain. The long pain. But eventually you turned.
You turned
You turned.
and took your stand in the struggle and seed of yourself.
And became your own hero. it's allurements and enchantments. Stormed mind, go!
Destroyed mind,
Stormed mind,
destroyed mind, and its illusion all other than self.
proved the seeming of everything to be nothing, nothing but your dream of other than yourself, and became yourself, oh God, and returned to earth as perfect man. And taught us the law and the love and the way to ourselves to true. Millions of times in your compassion you have come to us. On the cross of our rejection and violence, and waited with vast patience the extent of our follies,
Of our little greeds and progress,
of our little greeds and progress to other than self, self, self. And now again you have walked the earth, but as the moment of your glory drew near, the talk with your disciples died on your lips. The swift glances fled from your eyes.
the ground was a sea of concrete in which no green thing lived. Your body was for the scale of the world,
Made into a cross on which you hung and waited the eternity of the precise moment of your word, which was our destroying and renewal, and the again path for our stubborn feet, again path for our stubborn feet. How the glory of your brow is the light of our safe journeying. The love of your eyes is the mirror of our revealment, and the certainty of our arrival. How glorious you are as man, how helpless as God, so helpless that you could not hide your Godhood, even behind the walls of your pain. How very man you are, how absolutely God, how
So that was lovely for you to all be in Barber's house, hearing the wine shop singers. The people that were passing behind were going into Barber's room with the doors open to take darshan at Barber's bed in his beautiful room built of Australian tully wood. And it's not over. Oh no. Sam published everything. Sam notated everything. We have songbooks of everything. And this habit came about because back in 1979, when I arrived in Los Angeles, Phyllis Frederick was shocked that I was carrying around these 6 songbooks with original songs, chords, words out of Francis's room since 1970 in a little pink bag. And so she hid it under a chair and I left without it. And we came rushing back and she said, this has to be published. How can you bring about that all this becomes published? I'll do it as an awakener. You contact whoever it is that has to do it. And that is why we have this, the Golden Book of Praise. It was an Awakener edition. I had to photocopy all my books and send them to Sam and Francis, and Raine Morman, who she was then, is acknowledged in the beginning as we couldn't have done it without her, her writing all this stuff down like this insecure singer for years. And we ended up with this amazing book of Francis Brabazon's music through Sam, notating it all on flimsies. They were on small sheets. It came to LA, and then Chris Haffenden's husband, did all these wonderful drawings and organized the notation for this incredible book. Thus, the whole habit began of spiral books, which are fabulous for musicians. They open up properly, and everything must be notated religiously. And of course, once I started learning after 1979, Sam would even put, you know, the not so good at guitarists easier chords on the bottom, which Lorraine's dying to get hold of these easy chords on the bottom. And one day I'll have to do all that. I did do a Sam book, Ruth. Every single one is pulled out into 2 huge manuals now. So we'd go from things that are really tricky like that. I'll just sing a verse of it because we're running out of time. And this became Meru's favorite song. And of all things, it's in 3/4 and as simple as it gets. Oh, beloved, may her loveliest one and the most fair sun in splendor, shining in all love to delight and keep in thrall, one to guide us, one to teach us, one who comes as man to reach us, one there when our song was begun, one there with us when it is sung. Oh, beloved, may her loveliest one and the most fair sun in splendor, shining in all love to delight and keep in thrall. She would request it every time I'd come to the veranda. What between Mara always requesting The Dawn Light Breaks and this, the Americans thought these were the only 2 songs I knew, you know. But then we would get into very complicated things like other guzzles. A later guzzle he actually wrote to me at the time, The Promise. It's an art song. And we had a lot of art song. I had studied Schubert and Schumann, and so had he to get his degree. And so they went between folk rock art song. And as you see in People, all in the one. And one day he sends me this thing, and it's got like 2 chords in it. And I'm thinking, oh, this is easy. And no chord. A guzzle. It's guzzle 98. We called them numbers, and I'm hooked to the numbers. But the first line is when dawn tended her rose garden. When dawn tended her rose garden in the eastern sky, I passed along Love Street and heard a distraught one sigh, though your house is in the street. I'm far from your door, for my tears have become an ocean that has no shore. What strange tune is this, beloved? In what mode and mood that brings your lover to you and puts between a flood? The moon rose and shone over the wine cup's lip, and oh God, I was adrift like a derelict ship. Then the wind blew your hair across the sky, and black night fell on the tossed waters and covered the moon from sight. What I thought was a star came out, ah, but it was your tear. It hung, it burned through the night. It took away all fear. I would leave this raft and I'd swim back to you. But alas, now that the daylight has come, those waters are a broken glass. That entire image possibly came from glancing out the window and seeing a piece of broken glass. Imagine that. So I'd like now to present to you something different, and that is Sam, and he did quite a bit of this actually, we found out, Gerd and I on the computer, put bow words to music. And then I had learned Kim Witkowski's O Moon. And so I sent it to Sam and said, look, my choir bow's coming and we have to be the singers before his tour, everywhere he goes. We need a 3-part madrigal to O Moon. A week later, what comes back? A 3-part madrigal to O Moon. And could you play that for us? We have a very scratchy tape of the bow tour in Sacramento of the Love Street Singers singing a 3-part arrangement by Sam Saunders of Bow's O Moon to Kim Witkowski's original melody. O moon, O moon, O moon, you are and will be. We better try that again, Ruthie. It's vanished. It's slipped off the page, literally.
So it stopped.
My sad me as
Thank you. The Love Street Singers. We still get together for the East-West Gathering and sing. Each year I did the East-West Gathering. Takes a weekend, you know. One of the last pieces I got from Sam was Rose's Thorns. Now, Sam loved a challenge. You know, I wrote to him and said, oh, well, you know, this person's written a lot from The Beloved Is All in All now, this Jim Meyer, and well, he put this great melody to the Rose's Thorn, so I think I'm going to learn it. That's pretty much all you had to do to get your own song, I found out over the years, you know. Oh, well, within the 2 weeks, I had my own Rose's Thorns, didn't I? I'll just do a little of it because we've got to get to a beautiful slideshow, but he's saying sing the whole song. No, this is the wrong key, huh? Stoop down, that's too high, and it'll spoil the song. So when I was doing the songbook, and I deliberately did the songbook, Lorraine will laugh about this. I deliberately did the first one as a glittering gold Sam songbook. He would have collapsed and said, throw it out. So I still have my sense of humor running with him on a daily basis of practice, you know. You have stooped down to heal the roots of the rose's pain, to bathe lepers, feed the poor, and comfort the insane. You have shaken out before our eyes prospects of new dawn, but we, your lovers, have garlanded you with the rose's thorn. You have stooped down to heal the roots of the rose's pain, to bathe the lepers, feed the poor, and comfort the insane. You have shaken out before our eyes prospects of new dawn, but we, your lovers, we've garlanded you with rose's thorns. Maybe the beasts will invent new scales and melodies. Maybe the beasts will invent new scales and melodies. Maybe the beasts will invent new scales and melodies. Our praises are hammers, riveting fingers and knees. Our praises are hammers, riveting fingers and knees. From the depths we cried to you, from your beyond state you came. From the depths we cried to you, from your beyond state you came, as a flood of waters, as a column of bright flame, as a flood of waters, as a column of bright flame. Yet we, your lovers, we garlanded you with the rose's thorns. Your presence is our answer. Why do we nourish our absence? Speak to us, beloved, the refreshing word of your silence. with us constantly. He is with each one of us constantly. Here is the Lord. Here is the Lord. He is with us constantly. He is with each one of us constantly. Oh, wondrous the stars tonight. My love has no end tonight. See the world and its sorrow has no place in my heart tonight. How yellow the moon tonight upon the blue hills tonight. All my tears were but a dreaming that fades with a kiss tonight. My beloved whispers to me, it's all right. These pieces are written for, complicated whole groups. So to bring them down to solos is something I had to learn to do, because there I were, but I still hear them all singing with me every time I sing them, all the parts. And I had to learn all the parts to teach the Love Street Singers everything. So that was fantastic. We'll go to our slideshow in a moment, but I think I would be rather remiss without doing a song that will surely last 700 years. It's called Far Behind Is Yesterday. It became nicknamed Raine's song because it was sent to me when she was born, and I told Sam I won't be singing anymore. I can't do it. So he sent me 5 songs and said, that's enough of that. Raine's song, Raine's lullaby, honky tonk song, celebration going on, all sorts of songs. And I sang again. Didn't take long. With light from his pure love, I wind my way, on a road no distance knows, only today, Far behind is yesterday, from the stars and their dreams, till the wind brought to my lips the clear song of the name of Mayhem. Farewell, old ancient world, I feel so young, No more your iron chains, on his swift glance my heart is hung. Far behind is yesterday, from the stars and their dreams, till the wind brought to my lips the clear song of the name of Mayhem. I go to his lovely feet. On hopelessness alone, I place my trust, I place my trust. My destination lies in the dust, in the dust. And far behind is yesterday, from the stars and their beams, till the wind brought to my lips the clear song of the name of Mayhem. This song was actually inspired by Billy Lobos's Bachianas Brasileiras No. 5, which I had learned for an exam. And I took the music along to India year after year, hoping some cellist would show up. Not 80 cellists, of course, as it was originally done, one voice humming, but nobody showed up to play it. So we have this amazing, it's not a versioning, it's a completely new song. I think the only similarity is the chromatic run in the middle. And then the last thing we found was this little song, which Lorraine often does a cappella. Thou stone cutter and gem cutter, thou potter and breaker of pots, thou upturner and returner, thou upheaver and leveler, thou bender of what is straight, and thou straightener of the bent, thou barber, thou lovely woman and glory man and child, thou moon night, thou star night, thou dawn swept of stars, thou morning of sun, thou alone doer, thou adorable and adored, thou us, thou only alone self, thou us, thou only alone self. From Stay with God. And of course, once I left the choir, I did have to become my only alone self and sing all the parts. And I think it's why in a lot of the songs, they just come across fuller because I'm not singing alone. I'm always singing with Sam's guitar, the Avatars Abode singers with their humble beginnings and complicated ends, and the Love Street singers, and sing. This is the thing, sing, keep singing, because you can see how all the memorization is there because it's attached to a tune, and that's a much bigger part of the brain, and one can do that. So Sam and I actually did a few collaborations too in Silver Moon. I see a note here. Thank you for sending me these beautiful words you wrote and this chorus that you've written, and you can't think of verses. Try these chords underneath those words of the verses and it will work. I substituted some chords and gave you easy ones on the bottom. And that's where Silver Moon came from. It was a collaboration. And there were many things I think of collaborations really, because as Lorraine said too, you had to nudge him. And of course, out of all of that came amazing things like these books, his song books, Our Simple Beginnings. Lorraine suggested to him to write a piece for the 50th anniversary, May Hamisa. Do look that up on YouTube. It's an astonishing piece of music. So now we would like to take you to a video which was brought about by myself, Greg Dunn, Chris Barker, and Rosalie Dunphy, doing a close and involved reading of The Word at World's End. a book people neglect because they read Dreams of Wet Pavements and thinks, oh no, this is not for me. This is not love, peace, and happiness at all. But as you get to the end, it's so blissful once you get to Hymn to God the Man. And so after we'd done it, we decided to do a very beautiful reading. And then Chris Barker, I sent him the Wine Shop Singers singing Hymn to God the Man that had been taped by at a rehearsal, actually, by Jim Frasino. And Chris suddenly had this idea, why don't we do a reading Now We Comprehend It? And I'll put this slideshow at the end with these singers. So we're just doing the slideshow part. So please enjoy. It's 20-minute slideshow and it is gorgeous. Jay Barber, thank you, Ruth. We'll come back in at the end for a chat.
Beloved God, all the earth is singing you, singing you, singing you. In the impermanent materials of stone, leaf and heart, singing you yearn, leaning towards your reaping, singing you yearn, leaning towards your reaping. God the Father, the Son of yourself, oh God, perfect man, cherisher of the sap in all things,
Destroyer of the worn out, the false of all things,
releaser of the love in all things, which locked in the prison of heart, in leaf and stone, raises itself in longing towards your reaping, longing towards your reaping. You are the perennial and glorious avatar,
the human and lovely Rasul,
the sudden and beautiful Christ, who stoops to man's state and walks the earth, carrying the cross of our violences, of our little stupidities of progress,
our little stupidities of progress
to other than God, our own perfect self-state, our own perfect self-state. For we have ever turned from that which we most passionately desire, and hated that which we most dearly loved.
carrying your cross,
Carrying your cross,
carrying your cross,
carrying your cross,
talking intimately with your disciples as their brother, carrying your cross, teaching them, nourishing them as their master,
carrying your cross, cracking a joke as you pause to wipe the sweat from your lovely forehead, your lovely forehead. God, man, oh God, perfect man.
called God perfect man to us now.
And to the caveman in remote prehistory, full of love for you.
Knowing your voice in the waters, in the fire and the wind.
And before this, to civilizations, to cavemen, to civilizations, millions of times.
Back to the time of your creating man and earth and the universe.
Out of your whim of self-knowing,
Spanning the immensity of time in one moment of your perfect manhood, your perfect manhood, your perfect manhood. Ever beloved would we be eagles of praise to you. Ever are we dust, trying to sing your glory. Ever are we dust, trying to sing your glory.
how beautiful
How
you
beautiful you are. What a
dreaming
in the dawn is your
What a dreaming
is
is the dawn, is
In your fingers is the cunning of all the works we shall make. In your eyes the love of all our loving. How beautiful you are.
How marvelous was your creating. From the thread of nothingness, you wove this vast universe.
And this little earth,
And man, all because you did not know who you were.
all because you did not know who you were, and had the whim to know yourself.
As whole God, as perfect man,
As whole God,
as perfect man. Out of absolutely nothing, this sea means something contained within your everything.
out of absolutely nothing, this sea means something contained within your everything.
Your everything, your everything.
Oh, the long way from the stars first singing,
The long pain from the time you broke out of your imprisonment of stone.
And crept up age after age to man's state.
yourself, your own image of you, perfectly sculptured, articulated for self-knowing.
Your ear eager for your voice, your eye for sight of you.
How dense you were in hard denseness, stone locked in your dreams of yourself as stone.
How tree-rooted you became, thrusting upwards, spreading out gropingly toward your infinity.
How feeble you were as worm,
How silently you glided through swamps, through the grass as serpent, seeking yourself.
and as lizard scurried and stretched yourself in the sun.
How you fish swam in the shallow waters, seeking yourself.
Dive down deep in the ocean,
Scaled waterfalls, seeking yourself in the highest waters.
how as animal you longed in animal longing for yourself.
Crashing out of the jungle, trumpeting like the rising sun.
Howling across frozen steppes,
Crying in fox cry like a child in distress in the night.
bull bellowed, bull staring into the sunset, pouring the earth, longing intensely for
Lord of the world.
Stealthily at night through silent forests, suddenly alive.
Then stood up, beating your breast, unable to endure not being man, not being man. Then you became man. And how great was your fall.
You had hammered out on the anvil of time
your true shape, by means of which you could know who you were. But you forgot all about the long way and the long pain, and why you had had the fortitude to endure it.
you dithered about, digging in the earth,
Examining what you found, stared at stars,
wondering.
beguiled by what you had already been, made wars,
Instead of war on yourself,
always conquering, 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 but not your own nature. What a gainsaying of the long way and the long pain, the long pain. But eventually you turned,
you turned
you turned,
and took your stand in the puzzle and seed of yourself.
and became your own hero, and fought your way out of the tangle of flesh and the drift of stars, stars.
Found out the backward path that leads forward to self.
Across the terrible shining plains of your own energy
And its allurements
and enchantments. Stormed mind,
destroyed mind,
stormed mind,
destroyed mind, and its illusion of other than self.
prove the seeming of everything to be nothing, nothing but your dream of other than yourself, and became yourself, became yourself, oh God, and returned to earth as perfect man, and taught us the law and the love and the way to self, to truth. Millions of times in your compassion, you have come to us
violence, and waited with vast patience the extent of our folly, of our little greeds and progress,
Little greeds and progress.
to other than self, self, self.
And now again you have walked the earth, but as the moment of your glory drew near, the talk with your disciples died on your lips, and the swift glances fled from your eyes.
Your brow was a sea of concrete in which no green thing lived. Your body was all the steel of the world, made into a cross on which you hung and waited the eternity of the precise moment of your word,
which was our destroying and renewal.
and the again path for our stubborn feet, again path for our stubborn feet. How the glory of your brow is the light of our safe journey. The love of your eyes is the mirror of our revealment, and the certainty of our arrival. How glorious you are as man, how helpless as God, so helpless that you could not hide your Godhood, even behind the walls of your pain. How very man you are, how absolutely gone, how very man you are, how absolutely gone.
Thank you, Ruth. So do not think that you can't learn it by heart, as we've learned it by heart. Sam's songbooks exist, and just I Am Me if you need a songbook and you too wish to learn it, because now we have this on YouTube. And 9 guzzles, 16 song guzzles, 35 guzzles, 7 guzzles. He did not leave us bereft. He did not leave us with nothing. He left us with one of the most huge, enormous musical estates of his music, other people's music, Francis's music. But suddenly, just to close, Ruth, I see a member of the Love Street Singers there, and I'm wondering if you could play "Oh Moon" again for that member of the Love Street Singers to hear the three-part arrangement of Bowes' "Oh Moon" by Sam Saunders.
I could just give me 1 second and I'll cue it up.
So the choirs, the Abertuzzer Bode Singers, the Wine Shop Singers, and the Love Street Singers, all still singing. Okay, well, just shut your eyes and think of Barbara and think of Sam and hear him singing "No One Knows the Pain of Stone." And this song, I would just like you to get through the pain of stone and then see where a master musician and someone who has mastery of guitar takes you when you arrive at Barbara's feet in the second last couplet. It's one of the more extraordinary guzzles. It's extraordinary, what can I say?
You can do this.
No one knows the pain of stone, its dull dream and slow lust. Yet this is the halfway stage from man to singing dust. Ooh. No one could endure this state but for the beloved smile, supporting and urging one on, mile after static mile. No one knows the pain of stone, its dull dream and slow lust. Yet this is the halfway stage from man to singing dust. Ooh. This non-traveling is what is called the spiritual way, by which is made living the image which God wrought in clay. No one knows the pain of stone, its dull dream and slow lust. Yet this is the halfway stage from man to singing dust. The moon rose tonight in all her beauty, yellow and chains of distance with which she is bound. Nearness and farness, these are the only two words that make sense to the lover. Kisses and wine and swords. I could not endure distance if my beloved were not near, but the nearer I draw, the further away does he appear. Then suddenly he is beside me, pouring wine between my stone lips. And in a moment the night and the pain is gone. How quickly time slips. Then he is beside me, pouring wine. And the night and the pain is gone. How quickly time slips.
Thank you, everyone. Please feel free to unmute. And those that came in late, it'll be on YouTube. Turn your phone off. You turn your phone off. Sorry. So yes, it'll be on YouTube fairly quickly if you want to watch the whole thing, or watch it again. Thank you, everybody. Has somebody got a question or something else to say?
So wonderful, Raine. Thank you so much. Thanks, Ruth.
That was great. That was so nice. A nice collection.
Oh,
Well, I just want to say that wherever Sam is, I sincerely believe that the beloved is pouring wine into his stone lips.
Yes.
Thank you, Raine.
Thank you.
Well done.
It's so difficult with such a massive estate to. It was two sparkly books like this of pulling everything out for 5 weeks and photocopying it and putting it into 2 sparkly books. That's the things in my songbooks, without all the books he'd published. And then there's the guzzles. And I thought, well, I should pull a few guzzles out. And every page is Melody Sam, Melody Sam, Melody Sam. For like 50 guzzles, then Melody Raine, Melody Sam for another 50, Melody Lorraine, another 50, Melody Heather. You know, it was like, they're Sam's melodies, you know. And it was a wonderful exercise, painful and wonderful exercise. And well, so many of us have learnt from him. And the psychology of chords I sent him a book called The Psychology of Chords when I came to America. That just entered his mind in like 2 weeks. He just gobbled the whole thing up, you know. And that's why we have all the pain of the stone. And then suddenly he is beside me, and all it took was a G. I just took a G, Mark.
But it was
Oh, it's that easy. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, just a
Brilliant.
magnificent mood and way to know how to clothe the mood of and create a form. Try to create a form. We do notice that it's all stop and start and difficult at the beginning, and at the end it's just wake and sing, all you that float on the ocean of illusion, wake and sing, like this. It became simpler when he sang them himself. So just marvelous. There are many things on YouTube to watch. There's a set of 6 CDs that Ged produced, beautifully produced. Anyone can IM me or send me an email at nadaom@aol.com if they'd like to hear those amazing CDs of collaborations, of compositions, and we had huge works, not just Hymn to God the Man, Meher Misa, and with Hymn to God the Man, do remember that way back in 1972, we learned a little madrigal for the first time. How beautiful you are, what a dreaming in the dawn is your brow. So beautifully sad and meaningful. And we thought we'd learnt that madrigal. And there we have, by 2015, the whole Magnum Opus of Hymn to God the Man. I mean, the man did his work and he left.
Mhm.
And we're all running along behind trying to catch up. Jeanette, could you tell us the story?
Which story?
Make one up about Sam and how
Sam.
crusty and difficult or how magnificent he could be.
Well, he was magnificent. Jeddah was here earlier. I had such a frustrating time. Barbara put me through the ringer trying to get onto this session, Raine. A few other people know. It was such a saga. It was absurd. Anyway, with Jeddah, I was explaining to her when we finally got on and we were listening, and she was asking, and I said, because we managed to put the sound through my speaker so I could hear this, we could hear the sound better. But I said the thing about Sam was that his musical genius meant that he supported us as singers to be more than we could possibly have been without him. And because she was saying, oh, do you still sing? And I said, well, not very much. And in fact, not at all through COVID. But the genius of Sam's musicianship was that if we were singing in the morning, he'd put it in one key. In the evening, when we were tired, or in the night when we were raucous with wine, he would change the key again to suit our capacity and make it possible that we would sing his beautiful, complex things. And he had a way of just pinging the note to give you the note for the next harmony that you had to come in on. He knew which notes people needed to get it right. And he just did that all just so naturally and effortlessly. And he was so patient. Yes, he was horrific, but he was so patient to a fault with so many of us who were just total amateurs. And he patiently, carefully taught us the parts and encouraged us. And, there was one line from one of the complex guzzles we did, and the beloved with infinite patience prepares the lover for his destination. And that was a line that somebody had to be shown every single week. And I would watch Sam with infinite patience prepare. And it moved me to tears sometimes in rehearsals. The love that Sam had for Barber, for Francis, was just palpable in the way that he managed to sort of work with the work, which was nothing to do with him. So yeah, that's my little piece about Sam. We all miss him terribly, but and the moon last night. The moon, that line in the Stone guzzle. I was at Gaird's. I'd been in Brisbane, but during the day popped over for an errand, and suddenly she said, "Oh my God, look at the moon!" And there, straight over the horizon from the ocean, it so rarely happens. The moon just popped out, and it just rose, this huge orange and then yellow orb. And of course, there's plenty of songs, Yellow Moon being one of Sam's great ones that he said, would be, he thought that would be the song that would become what would keep Gerd in the style to which she would wish to be accustomed, because And it's a genius of a song, and not particularly a Barber song, but his. But yeah, another little emblem from Sam last night. Poor Sam. And Susie and Gerd and I and another friend were all there watching that moon. And we called Chris Hines, who was next door, to make sure she was seeing it too. So, yeah. Thanks, guys.
How about you, Mark and Lisa? Have you got a little story to tell us of Sam?
You.
I'm thinking about it.
I just remember that one night when we were jamming at the old house on Panorama Drive, this is in Australia, at Gerd and Sam's. And of course, we would play a lot of music when we would go visit them because, that was our common ground. And he was a big Beatles fan, as we were. So we would just spend the night just playing Beatles music, for an hour or two. And it was wonderful. He was such a great musician to play with,
And a good cook. He cooked for us. And
yeah.
Delicious food. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that brings to mind as the Sunday night, the anniversary's over and we can relax party always happens. And then we'd all be singing and singing and people would be having a few drinks to relax. And then Sam would get into Paul Simon and Garfunkel. Once you knew he was over the top and out of this world, once he was into Simon and Garfunkel, we couldn't get a Frankie Edda's song in or The Beloved Is All in All or any other song in once he thought about Simon and Garfunkel. He knew dozens of them. Well, thank you everybody for your evening, for your morning, for your afternoon.
It was wonderful.
Fantastic. Yeah, and if people want to go back to the beginning and see the Wine Shop Singers and Sam, and he's yelling at them. You noticed in that piece in Barber's house singing for Joanna, he's saying, now we go to, and then he does it wrong. It's a really fun live remnant of singing in Barber's house with Sam conducting while playing guitar.
Lovely, yeah. And I just wanted to request the link to the YouTube slideshow.
Yes, I'll put it up as soon as she puts it up.
Okay, that's
I'll
great.
flick it to you on IM as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful Sunday, weekend, night, morning, day.
Thank you, Raine.
And you
Thank
too.
Barbara.
Thank you, Ruth, so much.
Great fun.
Hey, Baba.
Hey, Baba.
Bye-bye.
Wonderful, Raine. Fabulous. Wow. Thanks so much.
Gone. She's gone, but it was
She's
really
gone. I'll
something.
tell
Yeah.
her.
Be exhausted.
I think so. You're right in that.
Wow.
Thanks, Ruth. Thanks, Betty.
Oh, absolutely. What a piece to put together. She
Wow. She is
Yeah.
just a fount of energy and
She is.
yeah. Wow.
I think she's been concentrating on it for a little while.
Say Baba.
Jay Baba, Betty.